Okay, so time for the Mage build. I've had a lot of people asking me from the last couple of Mage videos what my Mage build is, and so I thought I'd share it, but it's nothing special, everyone. I'd say the difference is that with the new meta, the new damage meta, it's really hard to 1vx on the Mage. I think a lot of people have given up or are struggling because they've been playing as a melee mage, and I think now you have to play as a mage like you would in other MMOs, so backline mage. So I'm just going to quickly go through some of the things that you need to be aware of to play this build in order to succeed. And if you don't like the kind of playstyle that I mentioned, then this build probably isn't for you. You need to pre-kite. If there's people coming at you, especially melee or greatswords, you need to move away before they can reach you, so you need to always be conscious. So this build's really about being conscious of your surroundings and what's going on, and pre-kiting, kicking in that coward mode before you get into trouble, because you're not going to be able to take on a couple of good melee, so don't do that. You're basically playing as a mage now in the backline. But one of the positives about this build is that because it's such a high damage meta, you can actually lay a lot of damage into clumps, like a lot, as a mage. So I think that's one of the advantages. So you've got a lot of firepower, AoE firepower that you can use to your advantage, but you just need to be smart because mages don't have so much protection. Like, you're not like a bow where you can just dodge all the time, etc. So you need to pre-kite. You need to use a line of sight like crazy. Basically what I do is I'm always standing next to a line of sight, so as soon as the bows start to shoot at you, poke your head around, you get about 10 arrows flying at you at the moment. So you need to line of sight like crazy and just basically be within walking distance, a dodge away from line of sight, and fire from there. One of the advantages of the mage too with line of sight is it's one of the only classes, maybe the only class, that you can damage people whilst line of sighting them. You can put down an ice storm, you can put down your pylon, you know, like you can even move your pillar of fire around a corner and hit someone where they can't actually see you, so you can be damaging them while line of sighting. So really use that to your advantage. And so yeah, line of sighting like crazy, and then just positioning yourself really well too. Like, if you don't have line of sight, but you should always have line of sight, but also be aware of where your team is, so you can like use them as meat shields or position yourself. So if someone gets on you, like a melee, you can pull into your team or through your team, and then they're likely to get stunned off you as you move through them. You just really need to be playing like a mage in other MMOs, and not like thinking that you're like some tanky bruiser that just happens to wield a fire stuff. So I think that is pretty much the kind of playstyle I've been doing. You can always just check out my latest videos, but now I'm going to jump into the build. Alright, hopefully I don't forget anything this time like I have done previously. Alright, now I just want to bear in mind, this is probably not, I'd still say there's some things that I can do to improve this build, but a lot of people have been asking me what my build is, and so this is what it is as it currently stands, and then I'll just try to update it in the future as I update it. Just bearing in mind I haven't got a really good ulti yet, so you'll just have to decide what you want. I think the one I want is probably the one that roots people or gives me CC immunity or something like that, but I haven't really gone out and got one yet, so I won't be showing you that. I don't think it really matters too much. Okay, probably the one that gives me CC immunity. I think there's one that does that, so I'll be doing that. Right. Gear. Okay, so this is my fire staff at the moment. I've got flame attunement. Obviously, that's really important for someone who's using a fire staff. Keenly empowered, because that's gonna increase your damage output as well, and you crit quite a lot. And then vicious, because when I do crit, it's gonna hurt. And then I've put a frozen gem on that, because that applies a burn and does extra fire damage, etc. So that's my fire staff. And then my ice gauntlet. I'm using pylon burst because I'm using the pylon that's quite effective when I line of sight people. So pylon burst, I'm using that on my ice gauntlet because I just am loving the pylon right now. which you'll see in those videos where I talk about my playstyle, because you can put the pylon up and then break line of sight, and then you can be damaging them while you're not even taking any damage. I mean, same thing you can do with the Ice Storm. But yeah, this is what I like. I think one of the advantages of the Mage. I gotta have pylon best, keen, and then flame attunement, so it does more damage. Again, these are all new, so I'm sort of leveling them up. And then the headpiece. So what I've tried to do is, at first I had some gear on, and I've changed this over the last week, where I didn't have freedom, but as soon as a melee got onto me, that slow on that light armor now is just so painful. So, and it's just really, really rough. And once they get on you, and the amount of damage they do too, they don't have to be on you long to basically wipe you out. So I've changed over to freedom, which seems to have helped quite a bit. So I've tried to put freedom on as many pieces as possible. And then I'm using, obviously, resilience. I'm only using resilience on 4 pieces. I just don't think you need it on 5, and I'd rather have the extra free. It just basically frees up an item that you don't have to resilience on, so it maybe helps you get a trait or another piece of freedom. So I've got 4 resilience, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 freedom. Yep. So, and then if in doubt and you don't have a trait, I go for either physical evasion or elemental evasion. So this would be the kind of ideal piece that I would get if I didn't put a trait on it. And then all the gems that I'm putting in is, well, basically what I want, because most of that, no one's really playing magic anymore. So I've only got a 5% for that. So I've put a lot into thrust damage resistance, because there's just so many bows and muskets and OPRs at the moment. Like, the greatsword meta hasn't seemed to have shifted too much. Still a lot of bows and muskets. So I've put a lot into thrust damage, and then 10% into slash and strike damage to maybe help with the greatswords a little bit. And then the rune glass that I'm using is that obviously increases my fire damage, so that would, because that's the sort of my main thing that I use to output damage. And that's why your AoEs do actually hurt, and you can blow up groups quite well. So that's what I'm doing. And so for the next piece, I am, again, this was just a filler piece. Ideally, I wanted that, but I couldn't find anything in the medium armor, so I had to deal with Refreshing Ward, but just resilience and freedom. And then I'm using Unending Thaw on this trait. I think that's just really, really important, because once you do get them, you want the frost effect to last on them as long as possible, so you can hit them with a heavy attack. And then this one has resilience and elemental evasion. And this is the next one of Empowering Fireball. Again, going for the resilience and the freedom. So this is like best in slot for me. I'm still deciding between whether I want Empowering Fireball on my armor or whether I want it on my weapon. I have another weapon that I've got in the bank at the moment that has, essentially it's this, but rather than vicious it's keen, and rather than keenly empowered it's Empowering Fireball. And I'm not sure, but maybe I get more kills with that because of the burst damage from the fireball, but I still need to test it. So I'll test it and let you know which one I prefer. This is why this gear score is a little low on this fire stuff, because I've just started leveling it. And then for the boots, Healing Tomb is just really, really good because it cleanses all the debuffs on you, but also gives you a little bit of a heal. And also it just gives you a reprieve. If people are attacking you or have got a slow on you, you can put that on and then begin kiting once you pop out of it. And then also just a bit of freedom to help those slows wear off faster. This is my piece without the resilience. Okay, for my amulet, again, I've sort of been playing around with this. And I've just put this on just to see. I just wanted a little bit of extra thrust protection. And I use 3 potions that heal me. I use the Infused Regeneration Potion, the Infused Mana Potion, and the Infused Health Potion. So that Divine helps in terms of, making those heals that little bit bigger. So I find that really helps. Extra health obviously is going to be very important, but that thrust protection just to make me a little bit more survivable. I am giving up stamina recovery on my amulet. My other amulet, which is at 620, has stam recovery, but doesn't have thrust protection. So this is what I'm deciding between. Again, I will test it and I'll get back to you, but at the moment this is what I'm using. And then this is, this is a good thing. It increases my crit chance, gives me more stamina, which is absolutely essential because I'm in light armor. And then the Invigorated Punishment, which just increases my damage basically. So this is really good. And then for my earring, I'm using Healthy Toast because that gives me a heal from the mana, and because of I'm on a mage, you know, I need the mana anyway, so it just keeps me, every time I heal, it keeps my mana topped up so I never run out, so I find that really good. Refreshing Toast obviously is vital because it reduces the cooldowns on your potions so you can get to those heals quicker, and then regenerating, so I'm not sure how much that really helps, but still, it's nice to have a little bit of extra heals ticking along. So I think that's everything. Now, if you're in an outpost rush, I really, really recommend trying to get Battle Bread or the Zephyr Cakes, which increase your speed. Both are really, really helpful. Both are really good. So take the time maybe at the start of the OPR just to go grab some. It does really, really help. But I think with Mage, that's less essential than if you're melee. Okay, so attributes. Have I eaten food? Yep. So I'm just running 300 intelligence and 200 constitution at the moment. Again, I'll let you know whether I drop down to 150 because I am playing more of a backline mage at the moment. So I might increase the intelligence to 350 and the constitution down to 150. It's just really rough at the moment with all those bows and then the greatsword with the amount of damage. Yeah, I at the moment I'm liking the extra con, but I am going to just play around with it a little bit. So as I update this again, I will definitely keep you informed. And then in terms of the skills, skills, weapon mastery, I'm forgetting where I'm going, fire staff. Okay, so I think you can, if you want to be in melee, you can use flamethrower, and I have no shame in using flamethrower because I mean you've got bows that hit you for 4k and stagger you, and everyone's using them. You've got greatsword, which can literally kill you in about 2 or 3 hits. You've got people running around and like, you know, hatchet and spear or whatever that can also just gank you out of nowhere. We don't have that much protection as a mage, so you know, if you're going to complain about me using flamethrower, the likelihood of the person complaining is they're using something like a fucking musket or something, you know. So get fucked. Just use it if you want. But I find the reason I'm not using this is when I have this, I want to move up to the group and start putting my fire on them, and I just don't think that works very well right now. Like that whole kind of in your head as the backline mage, you want to keep your distance, you don't want them to be getting too close to you. So in that respect, I think Pillar of Fire is better because even though you can't maybe 1v1 as well, or 1vx as well, you can tear into groups of people and just blow them apart. So I do like Pillar of Fire for that, because if you put the Ice Storm on, then throw a fireball into them, then do a Pillar of Fire, like, it's a hell of a lot of damage you're going to be put into a whole clump of players, so I like it for that reason. And this is just pretty cookie cutter in terms of the mage. I'm just putting anything that really increases my damage. So Clear Mind is going to give me 5% in power when I'm above 50% mana. This is going to reduce my cooldowns with heavy attacks, and I'm often heavy attacking with the fire staff, so this is actually a good trait to have. And yeah, it restores mana, so I don't really have that many mana issues, but I'm always chugging those mana potions for the heals anyway, so even if I did, I'd never notice it. Light attacks, yep, so you want to inflict burning every time you hit someone, so this is a good skill to have. Again, just increases more damage. Critical strike, more damage. This no longer consumes mana. This is really important. If you don't have this trait, you really will notice that you're running out of mana, so this is a good skill to have. And then, yeah, increases critical strike chance again, so more damage, and then this again, more damage. I'm really bad at standing out of that. It's really, really good to stand in it. What would be a cool trait for them to put on this would be to reduce damage taken by 25% or something too while you're standing in it. And that way, that would give the mage a little bit more defense, which I think it needs, but we'll see what happens. Okay, and then in terms of this right side of the tree, obviously using Burnout. That's just a must-have, got to use that. And then I am, yeah, so again, more damage. I did this because a little bit of Fortify isn't going to hurt, especially when people are like, melees are getting on you. Burning lasts 20% longer, more damage. Critical hits of fire staff, stack of burning, more damage, and I crit a lot, so this is going to be happening a lot. And then, yeah, I don't really know how much this helps, but hey, look, having a little bit of extra movement speed never hurts, especially when you're something that needs to kite. So that's the Fire Mage tree. Play around with that though. I think this is the flexi spot. I've used this, and I've used this. At the moment I'm just using this because I'm playing more like a backline mage, but I was actually thinking of trying this again shortly. But again, I'll let you know as I update it and keep switching around what I think. Ice Gauntlet. Okay, so with the Ice Gauntlet, this is just a critical skill. I've really been leaning on this. It's good for so many reasons. You can put it around near line of sight, and then it will hit the people as they try to chase around with you. So again, you can be doing damage to them whilst you're not taking any damage and just slowly whittling them down. But it's also a really good finisher. So if someone's taking a lot of damage from you and they're trying to kite away, and you know they do the little zigzaggy thing where they try to run away, this is really good at making sure they can't, like, they won't be able to get away from you, and it'll just hit them. So it's a really good finisher as well. So I really, really like this, and it hits pretty hard. So I'm using this. I'm using Entombed because obviously that's wicked survivability. I get a heal from it. It removes any debuffs off on me, and it gives you like a few seconds to just kind of get your stamina back and think about what you want to do. So yeah, if you haven't burnt through, if you burn through all your stamina, then you can use the Entomb, get your stamina back, and then you've got 2 more dodges when you come out of it. So I like that. And then Ice Storm is just good because that's your AoE, like that's how you're going to kill a lot of people. Yeah, is by using Ice Storm, then going into your Fireball or your Pillar of Fire and just burning down big groups, so that's kind of cool. I've put this into here because it increases damage by 10% for enemies below 50% health, but I don't think that's necessary. You could put it somewhere else, I just don't know what else I want. So I'm using increased damage again. I don't really know how often that's going to help. I often don't use my Ice Gauntlet when people are more than 15 meters away, but it doesn't hurt to have it. Increased critical gun damage when your stamina's full. Again, my stamina isn't full that often, but again, it might be occasionally. Good one to have it. Increase crit chance. So yeah, it's really important to be standing in the frosted area. This is going to increase your damage, so of course it's a good one. And this is the most, well, one of the most important ones, because if you've hit them with an Ice Storm and then you hit them with the heavy attack, it'll root them. So this is just like a really good one to have. Yeah, obviously everything on Ice Pylon right down through to here. I have everything in here because the last one removes all debuffs, so I find that really, really important. And then in terms of the skills, I haven't used this enough, but actually when I have used it, it's quite effective. If you actually stand there and you block an Ice Gauntlet, you can take a hell of a lot of hits, and it's using your mana, not your stamina. So this is actually good, and I might need to start trying to use it more often. I just haven't got into the habit of it. This is, I don't know how often this helps, but again, it's not going to hurt. If someone comes and hits me when I'm at full health, it's just going to mean that an initial attack, I get to get away a little bit. This is not as good as it sounds, because it's only your main skills. It doesn't mean like if you're doing a light attack or a heavy attack. So, but just make sure that, like, for example, you drop the Ice Storm, then the Ice Pylon on it, and then it'll reduce the cooldown of the Ice Storm quite a bit. So you almost get the Ice Storm back straight away. So yeah. And then I just did this because, again, at the moment, because of the amount of damage, having a little bit of Fortify doesn't hurt, right? So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm running at the moment. I think that is everything. God, I really feel like I've forgotten something, but well, I'll do a little update if I have. So yeah, that's the build at the moment. So thanks everyone for watching. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you want me to try, or if there's anything you can see that you think like you think, oh, this weapon would be better, or you need to use that trait, because and the Mage is quite fun testing this stuff. Now, I know that this build has been effective for me. I'm usually getting in top 2 for damage, top 3 maybe top damage, but often number 1, and top 5 for kills. So even though it's not perfect, obviously I'm doing well on it. So it's a good build, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll get you the updates soon.